So the property was listed for $39,000, and then I put an offer in for $32,000. And the seller actually accepted the offer, and I was like, oh man, I'm onto something, right? Hello, beautiful people. It's your girl Shy-Bivia, and welcome back to another episode of the Legally Clueless Entrepreneurs Podcast. If you are new to the podcast, thanks for joining. Don't forget to save, like, share, all that good stuff. And if you are joining me on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell as well. That way, whenever I post a new video, you guys will be the first to know. I am super excited to be here today. It's been a minute, you guys. So it has been about maybe over 2 weeks since I have done a podcast or YouTube video, right? And that's because I was just so laser focused. Man, I can't wait to get into today's episode, you guys. And bear with me, okay? As some of you guys know, I have talked about my struggle with just being focused and all of that, right? Focus on one thing at a time. So this may or may not be all over the place, but I'm super excited to get into today's podcast. But before I even get into today's podcast, hopefully you guys had a great Thanksgiving. I know I did. It was a little bit different than what we expected. My husband and I, we were somewhat anticipating to be by family, but we didn't end up doing that. As you guys know, or some of you guys know, we moved to Texas from New Jersey this year, 2021, in June. And so we actually don't have anybody out here. We don't have any family, any friends, anything like that. What was awesome was a friend that I went to church with, the same church with back in New Jersey. I saw her at this new church that I just started going to, right? And she ended up inviting me to Thanksgiving. So that was really cool. And on top of that, one of my friends who's also a flight attendant, she had a layover in Dallas. And so a couple weeks ago, she was telling me she may be in Dallas for a layover, which is where I live. I live like in the Dallas area. And I was like, okay, cool. So we all went, my friend and I, we went to Jalissa's house, my friend's house. Shout out to you and your mom for just opening your home to us and, you know, myself and my husband. So that was a great time. We had a blast, okay? We had such an amazing time. So I hope that you guys were able to enjoy family, friends. And if you weren't able to, hopefully you were still able to make the most of your Thanksgiving. This podcast may be a little bit long today just because I wanted to get into some stuff. Yeah, so I'm here, you guys. I'm here. I haven't gone anywhere. I have just been laser focused, right, with this new journey of wholesaling, you guys. So some of you guys know that I've started my entrepreneurship journey somewhat. So I'm still technically, you know, on payroll, right? Somewhat, still Air Force, still flight attendant, all that good stuff. But I am my journey to, becoming a full-time entrepreneur. That's my ultimate goal. On this channel, basically, I am sharing my journey with you guys, right? My entrepreneurial journey with you guys. In addition to that, my goal is to help you to also scale your business, grow your business, better your business, you know, while I share my journey with you, as well as experiences and things that have worked for me. So that's my ultimate goal. And just to basically to share other lifestyle gems. My goal is to also have other entrepreneurs on this podcast, interviewing them and just having them share their journey, right? And just be an inspiration. So that's basically the goal of this podcast, just sharing entrepreneurship and all this good stuff. So let's get into my journey with this wholesaling thing. As some of you guys know, I've started doing rental arbitrage and all that good stuff, right? Real estate is one of those things where I've always been interested in that. I've always loved just going to open houses, just looking at beautiful homes and, you know, just seeing the endless possibilities, watching HGTV and all that good stuff. And so I just became interested in real estate. When I was 19, I started working for this credit union. I started as a teller, and then I got promoted to like a loan processor where I was processing loans, home equities, and stuff like that. And then I got promoted to being a financial service representative, where I continued to do like loan processing and all of that, in addition to like other accounts and just normal account stuff, right? And during that time, I learned a lot actually about real estate. I was able to connect with so many different people. I learned so many different things during that field. So I'm grateful for that time of being with that financial institution, because it somewhat helped to mold me, right? And just being able to network and connect with so many other people, and just being in that field too at 19 through 23, 24. Around that age, I was able to purchase my first home at 23. So that was a great experience as well. So I learned a lot during that time, but real estate is definitely one of those things where I've always been interested in. I started reading real estate books and stuff like that. I'm at heart, like anything entrepreneurship, anything that can give me passive income, I'm all for it, right? And so even though I've started this rental arbitrage business, some of you guys know I've written a book on it, the B&B Boss Basics, what they don't tell you about starting a short-term rental business. I've done courses and stuff like that. And I do like that business, yes, because it's just a great way to earn passive income. I mean, who doesn't want to make passive income, right? So it's a great stepping stone. But in addition to that, I want to ensure that I'm also building true wealth and building equity. And one of the ways to do it 100% is through real estate, right? And, a lot of people may not understand it right now when you compare, the passive income, yes, that you're able to make with short-term rentals, right? The cash flow is a lot more. It's a lot more significant with short-term rentals. That is true. However, with actual real estate, with investing in real estate, you have a lot more return on your investment, because at the end of the day, you own the property, or 20 years or so, you would have owned the property outright, or have built tons of equity where if you wanted to refinance and get your money back, right, basically getting paid to own the property, right, or if you decided to sell it back for some quick cash, flipping the property, or holding it long-term, investment, cash flow every single month. Those are all great ways. So investing in real estate 100%, I strongly encourage it, and I 100% believe in it, right? So I say that to say, I was looking at different ways of how to, get into real estate. And so wholesaling, let's talk about this, okay? Story time, you guys. Time for story time. So grab yourself some kombucha, or, a glass of wine, or, whatever that floats your boat, because I have story for you guys, okay? Let me just say that this video is not going to be one of those videos where I'm here as an expert, telling you, all the great things that I've done and all the money that I've made in wholesaling. That's not going to be one of those videos, okay? But I am here to share with you guys my journey thus far, what I have learned, okay? You can learn from my mistakes, okay? I'm sure if you're interested in wholesaling, I'm sure you, which I strongly 100% encourage you to go out there and see other YouTube University videos, right? And, read other books and blogs and all that good stuff, because I'm not here as an expert. I'm here as a student, right, who will be sharing her experience and her journey thus far with real estate wholesaling. So I decided to jump into this thing about 2 weeks ago. I'm going to do my best to try and fast forward as much as possible. And I know myself, I can blab a lot. So I'm going to just try my best to just fast forward and all that good stuff. Now, I started this journey about 2 weeks ago. I'm one of those people who I like to learn as I go, right? I don't like to wait for the perfect time, the perfect opportunity, and all that good stuff, because for me, it will just never happen, right? And I encourage you to do the same. I encourage you to, if there's anything that you want to accomplish in life, start from somewhere. Take small steps daily, right? And not just sit and wait for everything to be perfect, okay? So I'm just one of those people who I like to learn as I go, and it's okay for me to not know everything, okay? So I'm coming to you here today not knowing everything, but I'm just gonna share my experience with you guys so far. Why did I decide to do wholesaling? Because, oh my gosh, you can make some really good money. Okay, you can make 5, 10, 15, $20,000 without spending a dime, right? Well, technically, if you really want to market well and all that good stuff, you may have to put down earnest deposit, maybe $500, $100, maybe $1,000, maybe $1,500 earnest deposit, just like if you were purchasing a regular home and all that good stuff. However, it's really, when you compare how much you make in a short period of time, it is 100% worth it. Your return on investment is significant, okay? So I say that to say I wanted to jump into wholesaling because it's just a great way to start into real estate, right? Without having to go through the whole process of flipping a property and all of that good stuff. You can just easily just assign it to an end buyer. You get your 10, 15, 5, $20,000, whatever your fee is, and you're good to go. You know, you can pay off some bills, you can pay off some debt, you know, you can use that money towards your first investment property, right? And so that's one of the reasons why I was like, you know what, this doesn't sound too bad. You know, at first it sounded very foreign to me. You know, it sounded very foreign, but I was like, you know, I'm still gonna give this thing a shot. Now story time, okay? I know I said that before, but now let's really get into the story. Let's really get into the tea of this thing. Now, I used PropStream. The first thing that I did was I went to PropStream. PropStream is a software that a lot of like investors, wholesalers, cash buyers, and all of that, they go to find off-market properties or just details that you won't be able to find online anywhere, right? You can also skip trace so that you can contact sellers directly, investors directly, and all that good stuff. It's a great tool, phenomenal tool. Even if you use other tools and software and all of that, I strongly recommend using a tool like PropStream, if not PropStream specifically, because it's just a great tool to use if you're trying to invest, you know, in properties or wholesale and whichever, right? If you want a 14-day free trial, I have a 14-day free trial for you guys. You can use my link in the description below, okay? One of the things that I've learned thus far with this type of business is that the first thing that you really want to do is find a darn good deal, okay? The buyers will come. The buyers will come. Like, one thing that you want to focus on is finding a good deal. Right? Finding a really good deal. The deal just has to make sense. Once you find a good deal, it's not going to be hard to find a buyer at all. The hardest part is actually negotiating with a seller, with a homeowner. That's the hard part of wholesaling, right? Everything else just basically easy going after that, right? Or somewhat. But what I've learned was it's a lot harder to get people to say yes to sell their home to the price where you see fit, right? Where you and an investor would see fit. It's a lot harder to do that versus, you know, once the deal is already a good deal, once you've already negotiated and gotten it under contract, to now hand it over to an investor. That's super easy. There's tons of investors out there that's just waiting for your deal, right? They're just waiting to invest their money. So that's one of the things that I've learned. Now, my story is that I found a deal. This was actually on the MLS. So it was listed with a realtor. And this property was about an hour away from like the metro area, right? It was not one of those areas where, you know, it's a lot going on. Oh my gosh. When I was driving out there, I was like, what did I get myself to? Like, this is absolute. It was just like nothing out there. There was like nothing out there for miles. And so, okay, why did I choose that property? The reason why I chose that property was because of the amount, right? And when I ran my comps and everything like that, which is another thing that you are able to do on PropStream, right? You're able to compare homes sold in close proximity with each other within a specific period of time, and you can compare, you know, the value, the after repair value and all of that. You can put it in a nice report sheet so that way you can send it over to your investors if they ask you for the comps. You know, even though investors, they'll typically run their own comps and all of that, but it's just really nice to have that data readily available. And it just makes you look a lot more professional as well, right? So that's another great feature that PropStream has. And so I found a property, it was going for $39,000. I was able to put in an offer, and the seller did accept it for $32,000, right? And so my goal was to assign it to an investor for a $7,000 assignment fee, which would come up to $39,000 at the end, right? I was then willing to lower that amount for a $5,000 assignment fee instead, and assign it to an investor for like $37,000. Now, the very first person, I was like, man, I hit the jackpot. The very first investor that I reached out to, who I saw that was doing investments and flips in that particular area, he actually picked up. I think he was at Home Depot at that time. He was like, just send me the email with all the information, all of that good stuff, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, okay, great. So I sent him over the information. He reviewed it. He was like, look, typically in that area, we don't usually do more than $30,000 in that area. And I was like, okay, but he was still willing to come out to the property, to walk the property and look at it, which was still a good thing. At this point, honestly, I wouldn't say that I wasn't really taking it serious. I was taking it serious, but this was literally like my first conversation with an investor, with a cash buyer, and putting a property under contract and all that good stuff. So for me, it was more like an experience to get that practice, right? So I was taking it serious, but it was more for practice for me. And, fortunately, it was for a property that honestly, I was tempted to flip the property myself. Like if I didn't find a buyer, I was like, look, if I can't find a buyer for this, I may just flip this property myself, right? Because it was just so low in cost. But anyway, the investor agreed to come out there to walk the property, and I was like, okay, great. So we met up. This was like 2.5 hours away from like the metro area. And so that's one of the reasons why it was really so hard. But let's backtrack. Like I said, this was my first contact with an investor for that area. So I didn't really have to reach out to other investors. I'll get to the reason why I had to eventually reach out to other investors for that property, right? We went out there, we met in person, which was a great experience because I was able to really see in person what he was looking for as an investor with the property. So he was walking around. I believe his wife was there as well. They were both in business together. They were talking about the property and the difference of that property with typically what they would usually do, and the size of the property and all of that good stuff. And he was actually really educating me on a lot of things about the area, about other booming areas. He was telling me that he has connections with like over 1,000 other investors. So even if I send him a deal that doesn't work out, that's not fit for him, he can pass it on to another investor. He actually prefers to do flips and all of that in smaller towns. So versus like the metro area, larger areas the larger area where I live, he prefers to do it in like smaller towns. So I was like, okay. And after looking at the property, to make a long story short, he was basically like, if you can get this down to like 20,000 or like 25,000, then we'll do it. And I was just like, okay. And so I had to renegotiate, with the seller, technically the listing agent. Seller didn't want to go anything lower than $32,000, right? And so it definitely took some time finding another buyer, another investor who was actually interested in that property. Most investors were like, no, we're interested in this area. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, nobody's interested in this area. And honestly, I could see why. When I was talking to the investor, he was basically telling me it's really just him and like 3 other investors that are in that entire vicinity, that town. There's like nobody that really invests in that area, And I was like, man, well, this is going to be tough, So, we had to back out of the deal because it just wasn't going to work. And there was no other investor who wanted to invest at that price. It had to be lower, right? When I worked out the comps and the numbers, the after repair value was about, for that area, I believe was about 130, 120 or something like that. So the numbers to me seemed like it made sense, but I guess with the repairs, I somewhat miscalculated the repairs by like a few thousand and stuff like that. And it happens, right? It's going to happen, whether you're an investor or a wholesaler. So it's really good to compare, with different sources and all of that, and possibly get another opinion, right? It's also always good to get a second opinion. So that's what happened with that situation. And I was like, man, but I learned a lot though, all hope wasn't lost, because like I said, it was still a learning process for me. So I was able to learn a lot from the investor. And I was able to build a really great connection. I texted him the other day. I was asking for a wholesale friendly title company, because that's going to be really, really important in your wholesale business, because you don't want to just go to any title company that's not really comfortable or not used to assignment of contracts, or even like double closings and stuff like that. They will screw up your whole deal, right? So you want to make sure that you are with an investor friendly or a wholesale friendly title company. And so I reached out to him the other day and asked him, and he actually responded back really quickly, referring me to this title company. So I was like, wow, I was able to really build a good relationship, because we had a great conversation for about half an hour at the property, and he taught me just so many things. And I was able to build a really good relationship with a cash buyer who I know that's actively investing, in that area, even though it's not really an area that I would look at again, because it's just so much harder to find a cash buyer, right? I'll be looking at closer areas, closer to where I am at, close to the metro area and all of that. But it's good to just go out there and build relationship with people, network, like you just never know, right? And so that's one experience. Then I had another experience. I was calling investors, seeing if they were looking to take on a new project. I had another property under contract, or somewhat under contract. The seller somewhat gave me time to see if I could find a buyer. That was another whole story. It wasn't technically under contract, but he gave me like 3 days to see if I could find a seller that was willing to get it for a specific price. So for example, it was really listed for like $99,000. There was another buyer who was interested in doing it for like $115. By the time I called him, he was like, look, somebody else wants it for $115. I will sign the contract with you today if you are able to do it for like $120. And in my head, based on the calculation, 70% of the after repair value minus the repairs cost minus my wholesale fee. However, when it was time to find an actual cash buyer, everybody was just like, yeah, the deal doesn't work for them. So I was like, okay, I obviously have something wrong here. So that has been my experience so far, you guys. I mean, like, what? So yeah, those are some of the instances that I've had so far. What made it much harder for me during this process was doing deals or trying to do deals in areas that aren't really as popular. That has been my experience so far. But PropStream, just to go over some of the things that has worked for me with finding deals and stuff like that, you can go to Facebook groups, right, with investors, and you can post your deal. So once you have gotten properties under contract, you can, either share that in private Facebook groups if you want to do that. Another thing that I strongly suggest as well, in addition to the Facebook groups, because I was able to get a lot of contacts for investors, like cash buyers, who have actual businesses, who actually actively invest and buy from wholesalers, right? And I was able to get their emails and add them to my buyers list, right? So now let's talk about a way that you can organize and build your marketing, set up your marketing strategy and all of that. One platform or software that I strongly recommend using is Mailchimp. That is basically an email marketing software. There are tons of other email marketing softwares that are out there, but you can use Mailchimp. Mailchimp is really cool because I have my rental arbitrage audience, and then now I have my investors, my cash buyers, my audience, and so I can tag them, right? And so when I have a new deal, what I will do is, do a nice email template and everything. And guess what? I have a solid right now about maybe 70 investors, right, who are interested, who have, told me to add them to my buyers list and all of that. So I have about 70 or so contacts. And so what I would do is I would tag them as cash buyers and all of that. And so if I have a property, new deal or whichever, I will add them, I will tag them, and I will just blast out that email, and it's automatically sent to every single one of them, right? Without you having to individually email people. Okay, now that is, let me tell you, that is going to save you a lot of time. So I strongly suggest having some type of email thing. I think Aweber, you can get Aweber for free. Aweber, you may be able to do that. I'm not 100% sure, but Mailchimp for sure, you'll be able to, just add your contact list, right? You can export and import contact list and all of that good stuff. So if you've had previous contacts elsewhere, you can just import it to Mailchimp and start building your email list. So I strongly recommend that, and that has worked for me thus far. I've had people reach back out to me, whether they're interested or not. Okay, I've sent emails out, blast it out, and they'll respond back to me, hey, I'm interested, or hey, I'm not interested in this, and all of that. So 100%. Another thing that has worked for me as well, like I said, is propstream. And what I'm going to add to that is using a type of batch SMS service where I'll be able to skip trace, right? Sellers or owners who are like in pre-foreclosure. You can use propstream to actually do this, right? And just filter it out based on the area, the zip code and all of that, and filter it out to, let's say, pre-foreclosure properties, and then you can skip trace that entire list. So if it's like a list of like 1,000, 2,000 people, and then you can skip trace it, and then you can export that data, right? And then you can put it into like a text messaging software. There's a whole bunch of them out there. There's one called REI something. That's the one that I'm actually going to try out. And then apparently with that software, once all of the contacts are imported, you can just schedule out and send out a text message, and people know that, whichever that you are an investor or a wholesaler and you're looking to build your portfolio and to acquire some properties and all that good stuff, and you can manage the communication back and forth. So that's another great way. Another great way is to apparently put out bandit signs. I haven't done that as yet. I'm looking into it to possibly do that, to put out bandit signs, right? Have you ever driven somewhere and you see the sign, I buy houses for cash or something like that? That's basically what that is. So that's a next step that I plan on taking soon somewhat, is putting out, one of those signs. So that has been my journey so far, you guys. It's been quite an interesting journey, and what I've learned also is that it definitely takes consistency, doing it every day. So if it means reaching out to 10, 15 potential sellers every single day, right? It really is a numbers game, and I learned this when I first just graduated from high school, and I was doing direct marketing for this company. And one of the things that I learned, I truly learned marketing, really. I learned about the law of average, more equals more and all of that. The more people you approach, or, the more conversations with you have, the more chance you have of, solidifying a deal, right? Or sealing a deal. So definitely 100% a numbers game. And so it's been quite an interesting journey thus far. I'm super excited about it because I do like a challenge. I like I like doing things that actually challenges me, right? I'm not afraid to talk to people, have conversation. So yes, that has been my experience so far with wholesaling, you guys. I can't wait to take you guys along with me when I finally close that deal. Like I said, I've been on this journey for maybe about 2 weeks now, going on 3. But you guys will be the first to know when I close a deal, when I seal a deal. You will be the first to know. So again, I shared with you guys a little bit about my wholesale journey, what it means to be a real estate wholesaler, what that process is like, just a little bit. I mentioned one of the ways that you can find buyers, right? You can find cash buyers and homeowners off market properties as well as on market properties. You can use a tool called propstream. Okay, again, I'll have this in the show notes and in the description below. It's called propstream. Another way to build your email marketing list, right, and promote and market is by using a software called Mailchimp or any type of email marketing software. Like I said, I love Mailchimp because you are able to add tags, you can separate your audiences. So if you have multiple businesses, I was initially thinking that, I won't be able to add another audience outside of like my rental arbitrage audience, but I was able to add my cash buyers and investors audience to that same logging. So I strongly recommend having, like I said, an email marketing platform, right? And another thing is, I just want to encourage you guys to just, whatever it is that you've said you wanted to do, or, plan on doing, try to take daily steps towards that and not just sit down and tell yourself that things has to be 100% perfect and your situation has to be this and that and all of that good stuff. Try to take small steps, you guys. Okay, like when I jumped into this thing, I did not have a one-on-one mentor. That would have been great too. I would love to have somebody like an actual one-on-one mentor, and eventually I may, but I just wanted to jump into it and see what I can learn hands-on, because I am very much a hands-on learner, right? And I've learned so much in the experience, just talking to people and based on the conversations that I've had and having to reach out for this and the contracts, looking over the contracts and talking to different realtors. Like, I've learned so much being in the actual experience. Like, I honestly do feel like I'm probably learning more than if I actually just had somebody walking me through stuff, because I feel like there's some stuff that may be missed, right? But maybe eventually I may decide to have a mentor, but for now I'm kind of just rocking with reading and getting information from YouTube University and all that good stuff. So that's my journey to wholesaling, you guys. That's my journey to wholesaling. Am I still doing rental arbitrage? Yes, absolutely. That is great passive income. So I still have that income as well coming in. I still have my book, if I didn't mention that before, the B&B Boss Basics, what they don't tell you about building a short-term rental business. This is a really good read, you guys. I'm not just saying it because it's my book, obviously. I mean, it is a good, but it is really a good book. I mean, it's short and sweet. I basically break down, for people who are not able to do like my coaching program and all of that, which I do have as well. I have an actual mentorship. I have an online course, right? It's self-paced. You can do that online, right? It's called the B&B Boss Basics. I believe I'll have it in the show notes as well as in the description. But if you just wanted to grab the book to learn a little bit more about my story, a little bit about, how I started and all of that, in addition to some of the steps and the tools that I've used in my business to help me automate it. Okay, definitely pick this book up. Okay, I shared quite a bit of gems in this book, so definitely go get it. You can get it on Amazon. There's a Kindle version and there is the hard copy version as well. Okay, so definitely go support your girl and get the copy of my book. Again, if you're listening to this podcast, it is called The B&B Boss Basics: What They Don't Tell You. Everything you need to know about building a short-term rental business without owning property. And it's by your girl Shenice Bryant, aka Shy-Bivia. So yeah, definitely go get your copy, you guys. Okay, and if you want a more in-depth coaching and all of that, I have a really great online program that you can check out as well. Okay, but yeah, again, I'm just here to share, you guys. I am just here to share. No, I haven't solidified a deal yet, but the journey has been it's been very much a learning process so far, and so I just wanted to share that with you guys. Money is out here to be made. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm really interested in wholesaling, you guys. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but the hardest part is really finding a seller, a homeowner to agree to sell their property to you at the price that you see fit, right? The easy part is finding buyers, you guys. I realize that it's so much easier to have conversations with investors and cash buyers and all of that, because people they want to invest their money. Okay, they are looking to make money and flip properties and all of that, but the hard part is actually having conversations with sellers and getting them to sell their houses and all that. That's the hard part. But once you can master that, I mean, you can do absolutely anything. Okay, and like I mentioned, there are different ways to marketing yourself: bandit signs, sending text messages out, sending out mailers, stuff like that to market to sellers. There's just tons of different ways to connect with sellers. I won't make this video any more longer than it needs to be, or this podcast any more longer than it needs to be. I know I can definitely go on a tangent and talk, but I hope that you guys learned something from this video today. Whatever it is that whatever your goals are, just go out and get it. Don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for the perfect opportunity. Okay, just start somewhere and just take action. Okay, all right, you guys, it's your girl Shy-Bivia. It was an absolute pleasure. Let's continue to grow those businesses together, and I'll see you guys later. Be blessed. Bye bye.